back. Once again, welcome back, dear students. Uh, in this video, we will see Java built-in exceptions, and then we will also learn how to define our own exception. All these exceptions, we have been discussing this, are available in java.lang package. That is the reason why we never imported it in package, because you know that java.lang package is always by default imported. And all these exceptions are also subclass of runtime exception class. Some of the exceptions are unchecked. As I told you earlier, unchecked exceptions are exceptions which are ignored by compiler. Compiler will not raise an objection. Compiler will actually not know if there is a statement which can potentially generate an exception. That is the reason why compiler actually ignores them. These are called unchecked exception. These are some of those examples: arithmetic exception, array index out of bounds exception, array store exception when assignment to an array element of an incompatible type, class cast exception when you try to cast type of object in another type of object, and if both of them are not in the same hierarchy. We saw this concept when we were covering inheritance. Then enum constant not present exception, illegal argument exception. All these are the unchecked exception. Obviously, we cannot cover each of them. You will at some stage, if you become a good Java programmer, you will encounter many of these exceptions, like string index out of bounds exception when you are attempting to index a string out of its bounds. Right, so all these are unchecked exception which compiler will not take a notice. It will compile, but they will at runtime, they will spoil your execution. These are checked exceptions: class not found exception, class not supported exception, clone not supported exception, illegal access exception. All these are the exception type which compiler will take a note of. I mean, um, compiler will not compile the program. It will say that you need to either provide me try and catch, or if you are lazy enough, you can at least indicate in the method definition by using keyword throws, right? So those checked exceptions are actually taken notice by the compiler. Now is one of the important topics in exception handling. You want to create your own exception. See, all these exceptions which Java provides, they may not be sufficient for your application. You say, I've got an application in which I want to have a situation where exception should be thrown. But all these exception types which are available in Java, they are not matching to my situation. So in that case, you might be interested in creating your own exception class. You can create your own exception. It will behave just like those predefined exception. When that exception is thrown, program will be terminated. I mean, the behavior that an ordinary exception class takes, it will be taken by your defined exception. Remember, you can create your exception by creating a class, making it subclass of exception class. And this exception class is obviously subclass of throwable. Right, it has got two constructors, one which accepts nothing and another one which accepts a string message. Right, okay. So you will usually pass a message that will be displayed when your exception is thrown. Alternatively, you can also override toString method, which is coming from exception class, because when you print object of your exception, this toString method will be called automatically, and it can display a reasonably readable message that will inform a user why that exception has been thrown. Right, as usual, I understand you will be able to understand this concept if you see an example. Now, say for example, you are developing an application for the bank. Now, for bank, you want to create an object of account balance, right? Now, you know that account balance can be any number uh, from, 0 to any number. I mean, millions of rupees, billions of rupees, absolutely fine. But then problem is account balance cannot be negative, right? Now, when you say that I want to create an integer which is going to hold current account balance, then you know that Java won't mind if you give any number, be it positive or negative. Java won't mind it, but you mind it. You say, come on, account balance cannot be negative. And you say, when account balance is negative, this is a type of a situation where you would like to throw an exception, where you say further transaction should be stopped because account balance going to negative is simply not allowed, right? So let us simulate this exception in an exception class which we are creating ourselves, and then we'll see how to throw it. Right. So I create a class. I call it account uh, balance, and I extend it from exception class. Right, because we want that this account balance should be exception class. And if you want this to be exception class, you'll be able to use it with the keyword throw. That means you can throw an exception of type account balance. And this account balance exception is by default not available in java.lang, but you want to create it for your own application. So that is the reason why you will make it a subclass of class exception. Okay, now what you're going to do, you say in account balance, you have a constructor account balance, right? Integer, you will accept a balance, right? Now initially you say integer balance equal to 0. This balance equal to 0. Okay. Now here you say uh, this dot balance equal to balance, right? Okay, then we have a toString, and the toString method which actually returns a string. So I can write here a string, toString. By the way, you have already seen the use of toString method in the previous classes, right? This method will be automatically called when you print the object of this class, right? So I say uh, return, and then I say negative account balance is not permitted, is not permitted. Okay, so this is going to return and this message. Okay, and then say for example, I say public void say balance integer balance. That's it, nothing else. Okay, then I say balance equal to balance. Right. Now what I'm going to do, in order to keep it simple, I'm going to have a class account balance demo. Right. Inside this, I say I have public static void name string arg, right, and then I come here. Now say for example, I have an integer x which I kind of get input from user. For example, right, I keep it 90. I say if x is less than 0, if x is less than 0, then I say through new account balance, right? Through new account balance, right? So I'm going to throw an exception, which is account balance, and then passing this x, right? I'll pass this x as well. Plus, I can write here. Okay, I don't need to. Right. Else, if that is not true, else I say do nothing. Just you know, create a new account balance and pass it x. That's it, right? So if the value is not negative, then we are creating object and doing nothing. Otherwise, we are going to throw the exception. Maybe I can come here, public integer state balance. Maybe I can write here state balance. Right, this method will do nothing. It will just return, or this will just return balance. Okay. When I reach here, if an exception is not thrown, I can write here system.out.println current balance is, and then I write here I need to access this one. Okay, so which means account balance. I can write here account balance, which is initially null. And then I write here account balance equal to, and then I do this, right? Account balance is equal to new account balance. Now I can call this AB account balance dot get balance, right? I call this get balance method, what I have declared here, right? So I'm getting the balance. Right, so now I have got my own situation, which I consider to be an exception. And I say if the balance is less than 0, then I will throw exception. You know that when exception is thrown, your program will be terminated. You cannot go beyond this point. But if the balance, in this case, which is not negative, you know that we will come here, we'll create object of the class, and then we are going to get the balance. Let's see how it behaves. Account balance demo. Okay, save account balance demo dot java. Account balance demo. Okay. So cls java c account balance demo dot java. ToString in accountable cannot override toString in throwable. Okay. toString. Okay. Public. Okay. Right. You know the reason, eh? I hope you understand why I made it public. Because inside exception class, inside throwable class, this is made public. And when you are using inheritance, you cannot make it more restrictive. If it is in base class as a public, you cannot make it default, because default is more restrictive. You need to understand it. Eh? Okay. Here, unreported exception account balance, this actually becomes a check exception. Eh? So we need to either provide try and catch, or we need to use the throws keyword. Okay. If I use throws keyword, it should be okay. Throws exception. Okay. Java C. Now it has been compiled. CLS Java account balance. Sorry. So in this case, you can see account balance. Okay, sorry, I need to compile this one. Has it been compiled? Yes, I need to run this one. Java account balance demo. Okay, so you can see here the current balance is 90, right? But if I set a negative balance, which obviously, say for example, I have taken input from user as a minus 90, then see the behavior. You can see exception in main, negative account balance is not permitted, right? See this message and see the exception. Huh? Exception in main thread, negative account balance is not permitted. Right. You could have made it more readable. I can write here Okay, this message will be displayed alongside this message. If I catch it, I could have made it more, uh, readable. Here I can write your account balance exception. Account AWCOUNT account balance exception, right? Something like this in order to make it more readable. That account balance exception has been thrown, right? Java C, Java. You can see. And now we say this is account balance exception. Negative account balance is not permitted. But the behavior is, you can see an exception has been thrown. And because this exception has been thrown, which is the exception which is not from java.lang, but it is our own created exception. And we are throwing it by using keyword throw. We keep it conditional. We say balance is less than 0. You're going to throw this exception. Otherwise, you're going to set the balance. And when this was thrown, you can see the behavior is the program has been terminated. We never reach here because exception is thrown here, so program is terminated immediately. Right. You also know that this is an exception, so you could have kept inside try, you can catch it, right? All these things which you can do with any predefined exception, you can also do with your own defined exception. Right. So you got this idea. Now remember, in life, when you become a good programmer, you will encounter situation where you would be required to create your own exception class. This is how you will do it. You will create a class, you make it subclass of exception. Remember, if you do not make it subclass of exception, then you cannot throw it. Now you will see that compiler will complain because you're throwing account balance, which is not subclass of exception class. So obviously this is not permitted. So you can see here, Java C, you cannot throw incompatible type. Account balance cannot be converted to throwable because you are using keyword throw, so this has to be throwable. And if you want to make it throwable, you have to make it subclass of exception class. So obviously otherwise this is not possible. Right. So I hope now you learn the concept of creating your own exception, and you also understand when you should be using it. I strongly recommend that you should read a book. All these concepts which I'm covering are coming from the book, right? Creating your own exception. Complete references given, a couple of good examples. I recommend you to cover it. Okay, I end this video here. When I come back, I will be covering the concept of chained exceptions. Thank you very much.